welcome to Poker Vlog number 15. It's the last day of the month, and I gotta say, it hasn't been the best month. We're up, but definitely less than we usually are, and last month was pretty similar, so hopefully we could end the month good. Usually, just so you guys know, most of the time you're going to be seeing my content 2 weeks later than I've actually played it, or if I'm doing bad with editing, it'll just be one. But yeah, for most of the time too, we're going to play hopefully 2-5. It's been a lot better lately, maybe because of the holidays. There's always been a 2-5 going on. That makes everything so much better, because when it's only 1-3 going on, it's definitely frustrating because I know how much lower my win rate's going to be in those games. It's so much harder to pay the bills playing 1-3 compared to 2-5, so I'm really happy. Sadly, we have been running great, but just the fact that there's 2-5 going on just makes things a lot better. So yeah, let's get right into it. Hopefully I think there's a 2-5 already going on, so we don't even have to play 1-3. That's amazing. Just to get the last few vlogs, I think they've been 1-3, so I've been wanting to play, especially for the vlog, at 2-5. So yeah, let's get right into it, and hopefully we could end the month on a good note.
Session is starting off great since there is a 2-5 going on, there is an open seat, and it's the best seat to film, so pretty great to start like this. And things get very interesting when I head to the table. The player right to my right, if you guys see, has a crazy dirty stack. It looks so horrible. He's going to be the main villain of this session. He's super drunk, pretty crazy, so he definitely spices up the vlog. So let's jump right into the first hand. First hand in, we got ace queen off in the small blind, under the gun 2 limps. It folds to the button and he makes it 10. That's super small, especially with a limper ahead of him, and I'm always 3-betting here. I make it $45. Under the gun 2 calls, but button folds, so heads up to a flop. Flop is definitely amazing. Queen, queen, 10. So we flop trips. Ace kicker, definitely a nice welcome to the game. I see bet for $40. That is on the bigger side for a 3-bet pot, but there is a lot of draws, so that's what I do. And sadly, he does fold, but happy taking down the first pot of the session. Now we get an upgrade in under the gun 2 with ace king off. I make it $15. Now the hijack, a pretty aggressive reg, 3-bets me to 50. Small blind calls, that definitely makes this interesting, and it's back to us. And I'm always 4-betting here, since as I said, the hijack is a pretty aggressive reg, so I think my ace king is just doing amazing against his range, since he's pretty wide for what I've seen. And the fact that the small blind calls was even more reason for me to 4-bet, since there's dead money there, since I think he's mostly folding if I do. So that's what I do. I make it $190. The hijack does call, small blind folds, so go heads up to a flop. Flop is pretty great. 8 king 10, so top pair, top kicker. I'm going to c-bet here. I make it $150, and he does call. Turn is pretty amazing. Another king, so back-to-back trips. And I decided to check here for a couple of reasons. One, because the hijack, as I said, is very aggressive, and maybe if he has a draw like queen jack, I think he'll turn his hand to a bluff, since this would, if I have aces, that is very likely the way I played, I'll be hating this turn. And if he goes all in, well, that would be a pretty nasty spot with pocket aces, since it's very likely he has a king. So I'm hoping that maybe if he has a draw, he'll take this chance to bluff, trying to get my aces to fold. And as well, if he has some pocket pairs like queens, jacks, well, I don't think I'm going to get 3 suits of value. So if I check here and then bet on the river, it'll be more likely that he calls. So that's what I do. And sadly, he checks back. River is a deuce. And now with slightly under a pot size bet behind, I think the only move is to go all in, since if I did have any bluffs, that's what I'd be doing. So now that we actually have value, that's what makes sense. So I do go all in. He takes for a little bit, but sadly does end up folding. So we couldn't get max value, but still very happy with this pot. Now we're in a big blind with not that pretty of a hand. Queen deuce off. So, you know, with his going hijack, cutoff, button, limp, small blind folds. So yeah, just checking here. That's what I do. Flop comes 3-6 queen. So yeah, we have top pair, but the worst possible kicker. I'm definitely not going to be liking this spot if I check and there's bets and calls, but that doesn't happen, since once I check, it checks around. Turn is pretty crazy. Another queen. So we have trips. I think this is the first time I ever get trips 3 times in a row. And I decided to check, since if I bet here, I think it just looks pretty strong, as if we have a queen. And maybe if I check, someone will bet for value with worse, or just try to bluff. So that's what I do. And get the good news, when cutoff does bet, he makes it $20, and only we call. So heads up to a river. River is a king, and I tank for a little bit here because the opponent is a pretty tight player. So once I call him the turn, I think he's mostly just checking down. I doubt he's going to try to bluff me on the river. So maybe if I lead out here small, I'll get some thin value. Maybe he just doesn't believe that I lead out with a queen. And, there's some missed straight draws. I was in a big blind, so you never know. And while I'm thinking, he tells me that he knows that I have a queen. So once he says that, I think he's always checking back. So let's try to get some slim value. Hopefully he hero calls. I make it $35, but that's not the case since he does fold and we take it down. Now we have to pause a little bit from playing because the drunken guy to my right goes all in and the opponent asks for a count. So the poor dealer has to go through that whole mess, separating the greens from the reds. That did take a little bit of time. So they do that. That's actually nice since now we can actually see what he has. And the opponent did end up just folding, but yeah, the drunken guy was not happy about it, but everybody else was. So now he has a normal stack. Now we look down at the second most beautiful hand in this game, pocket kings in under the gun 2. I make it 15 and just get the small blind and big blind to call, but sadly don't get much action since the flop comes queen high. I see bet for $20 and they both fold, but still super happy. It's been a while that I have such a good start in a session, just getting trips 3 times in a row and then kings taking down 4 pots. Just super happy, feels great. Let's try to keep it going. Very next hand, we got pocket 9s and under the gun 1. I make it $15 and get the button and big blind to call. So 3 ways to a flop. Flop comes queen 4-4, so not the best, but not the worst either. Just 1 overcard to our pair. Big blind checks, and with both the button could have queens and a big blind could have 4s as well, I decided to check and get the good news when the button checks back. Turn is a 5 and the big blind checks again, and I think my pocket 9s are good most of the time. I think the button is betting queens on the flop a lot, and the big blind maybe is slow playing a 4, but for the most I think would be betting a queen or a 4 as well. So to protect and to get value from draws and maybe a sticky 5, I make it $25. And they both end up folding, so happy with that. 5 out of 5. Let's move on. Very next hand, we got pocket 7s and under the gun, so 3 pocket pairs in a row. I make it $15. Small blind calls, and a big blind, the drunk guy 3 bets, but just 45. That's definitely really small considering that he's out of position and there's a caller. So yeah, getting such a good price in position. I call, small blind calls as well, so 3 ways to a flop. Flop comes 8, 9, 6, so we have an open-ended straight draw. And this shouldn't hit too much, the big blind's 3-bet range, but you never know because this guy is super wasted, so I'm not sure what he's 3-betting with. It checks to him, and he c-bets $25, so getting an amazing price. I call, small blind folds, heads up to a turn. Turn is pretty bad. It's a jack, so apart from being an overcard to a pocket pair, now our straight draw isn't worth that much, just if any 10 comes out, any queen is going to be a better straight. So when he bets $75, I do end up folding, and we lose our first pot of the session. Once again, very next hand, we have ace queen off. Doesn't happen often that I play 4 hands in a row since I do have a decently tight range pre-flop. And get ready because this is a big one. It folds to the button. He bets $20. Small blind calls, and yeah, I'm always 3-betting here. The button could be super wide and the small blind could be calling with so many hands. I make it $100. Now the button decides to go all in, but he was pretty short, just $305 onto the small blind, and he tanks forever. And not because he's thinking, it's because it seems like he's trying not to throw up. He's drinking some water, and I do end up calling the floor because I really wasn't sure if he was capable of playing. But before the floor comes, he does come back in a way. He seems like he's actually a little more alert. He looks at his cards, he says, let's gamble, and calls. So I was ready to call the button. I was expecting the small blind to always fold here, but now that he called, I go into the tank. And there's a lot going on here. One thing that I haven't mentioned is this player, he's been flashing his cards. Every time he looks at him, he just picks them up in a way that I could always see him. And I've been trying my best not to look at him. And if I'm in the hand, I'll just say something or try to cover his hand so it doesn't give me any benefits while I'm actually in the hand. But when I'm folding, he's just showing, I'm leaning back. I'm not going to close my eyes. So I have been seeing most of his hands when I'm not involved. And previously, he flat called pocket queens in the small blind. So I know he could flat call pretty strong hands when he's out of position. So we still have over $1,000 behind, and I just wasn't in the mood to jam here. I felt like he was decently strong. Even if he says, let's gamble, maybe just saying that to say, I wouldn't be surprised if he has a decently strong pocket pair, and I just didn't want to flip for so much money. I prefer just to take it post flop, so I do end up calling. Before the flop comes out, he asked me if I want to check it down, and if you don't know what that means, basically you just go to showdown. You don't bet in any of the rounds, and yeah, I don't like that. I've never been a fan of it. I want to play, so I say no. Flop comes 3, 7 ace, so pretty good. Top pair, queen kicker, but now the small blind goes all in, and they kind of organize his stack, but still it's pretty messed up. But I can notice that he has more than us, so that's $1,100. That's an overbet. And now I say out loud, I should have jammed pre-flop, because I don't know if he could have 2 pairs here. Definitely, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if he called with pocket 7s or bottom set. But this player, and I got lucky for the situation that I saw him previously. He went all in against another player, and he flashed his cards, and I saw that he had nothing. So I know he's capable of going all in with garbage. There is a whole other situation that the button is all in, so I don't know what he has, but he could definitely have ace king. I mean, there's still a combo of pocket aces, so we don't even know if we're good for the main pot. But now I'm just thinking about this side one. That's definitely a lot bigger, since it will be $2,200 compared to the $900. So truthfully, I'm not even thinking about the main pot. I'm just thinking about this money against a small blind. And after calling pre-flop and hitting top pair, I just don't think I could fold against him. So I do call. Turn is a king. River is a 5. We hear some bad news when the button says he has 2 pair and he flips over ace king. So we're not taking down the main pot, but let's see what really matters. The small blind flips over pocket jacks. So, damn, we are good. I don't know what the hell he was doing with those pocket jacks, but I'm not going to complain. I'm very happy we take down the side pot that was the main one anyways. And yeah, this is maybe the biggest pot I've ever played, since it was $3,000, even though we didn't take the whole thing down. Very happy with it, and let's move on. Now we got a beautiful stack of over $2,100 in front of us, but let's focus on the game. The worst feeling is getting excited about money you made and then losing it, and that definitely could happen because this is poker. So until we rack up and leave, we're not going to think about the money, and let's move on to the next hand. Now we're under the gun with pocket 9s. I make it $15. It folds to the button, and he 3-bets at 55. And this guy, I play with him all the time. He's super tight, so him 3-betting is premium. The folds to us, I am simply set mining here. If I don't hit the 9, I'm folding, because I don't even know if he's 3-betting with ace king. I think he's maybe even flatting with that. So yeah, his 3-bet range is crazy strong, so I do call. Let's see a flop. Flop comes jack, jack, deuce. I check. He c-bets for $100, and yeah, as I said, I'm just folding here. I'm not gonna start calling, since I think he has a lot more combos of pocket pairs better than mine than maybe some ace king. So yeah, I do fold, but I didn't consider. It definitely would have been a cool spot to try to turn my hand into a bluff and check raise and barrel, because I don't think he has any jacks. But anyways, in the moment, I was just thinking about set mining, and I fold. Let's move on. We got to pause the game once again, because Drunken Guy still has a dirty stack, and another player asked for a count. So now they're actually 100% making his stack look pretty, and he's not happy. So yeah, let's just wait until they fix that and move on to the next hand. Today's the session of the pocket pairs, because now we got pocket 10s in the cutoff. Low jack makes it 15. I 3-bet to 50. Now we get the button, big blind, and low jack to call. So definitely not what I was expecting. 4 ways to a flop. Flop is pretty great. 9, 5, 3. So we have overpair the board and beating most hands, except if they flopped a set, or maybe if they just call with jacks, or maybe queens. Nothing that often, but sometimes people just don't want to 4-bet unless they have the nuts. But for most of the time, I think my hand is good here. So when it checks to me, I see it for $100 and just get the big blind to call. So heads up to our turn. Turn is a 4. That shouldn't change much. I don't think that should give him any 2 pairs or straight, since he cold called a 3-bet and called a flop, unless he's a complete maniac. That didn't seem that he was. So when he checks, I think most likely he has a flush draw. I bet. I make it $275. Don't want to give a good price to the draws. He tanks for a good amount of time. Now I'm starting to get worried. If he does call, I'm maybe going to check the river, and if he raises, I'm definitely hating the spot. But at the end, he does end up folding. Happy with that. We take down the pot. Now in the cutoff, and can you guess what type of hand we have? Yep, a pocket pair, and the best of them all, pocket aces. Under than 1 makes it 15. Under than 2, the tight player I mentioned earlier, makes it 45. So this looks very strong, but of course we're 4-betting with aces. I make it 150. It folds to him, and he does call. So heads up to a flop. Flop comes queen 6-3. He checks, and I'm a little worried, since as I said, I'm mostly just putting him on kings and queens now are beating us. but I'm not going to check back here. I see bet for $150. He thinks for a little while and does call, and I'm feeling pretty good since I do think he tends to fast play a lot. So if he had queens, I wouldn't be surprised if he would have check raised me. So now I think I'm good. Let's see a turn. Turn is a deuce, so brings in a flush, but we have an ace of hearts, so I don't think he has any flushes. He checks, and I was really considering checking back here, and it's just the dynamics we have. I play all the time with this player, and I'm literally almost never cold 4-betting him. I'm basically only doing it with aces, kings, and I would be worried even with queens. I probably would call with queens. That's how tight he 3-bets with, and I'm pretty sure he knows that. So if he has kings, I don't know if I'm going to get 3 streets of value. That's how tight this situation is for him and for me, and I do think he knows that. But if he has a king of hearts, I think he will call, so I don't want to lose value from that. So I do bet. I make it 250. He does tank for a little while and ends up flipping over pocket kings without a heart and folds. So yeah, we don't get max value against anybody else. I feel like we would have got it all in pre-flop or definitely on the flop and turn. But I think we just know each other way too well. And of course, he made an amazing fold. So yeah, very bittersweet, but still a nice pot. And let's move on to the next. All right, let's see if we can get more money out of it this time. Since once again, we looked down at pocket, aces, and ended in 2. I make it 15 and get the cutoff, button, and big blind to call. So 4 ways to a flop. Flop is pretty great. Deuce, 3, 7. So we got an O pair to the board. And I don't think there should be too many combos. I don't know if the cutoff or button are calling with deuce, 3. Definitely not 3, 7 or deuce, 7. Maybe the big blind has 2, 3. But anyways, altogether, I feel like we're doing really good here. But it's a very wet board. So I want to bet on a bigger side. I make it $40 and get the cutoff and button to call. So 3 ways to a turn. Turn is pretty bad. It's a 5 of clubs. So the flush gets there. And maybe if they got sticky with some gut shots. So yeah, on this turn, I check. Not a cutoff bets. He makes it $140. So not liking it. And even less when a button calls. So yeah, it just feels like at least one of them must have a flush and we're not blocking it. So I do end up folding, and we'll never know if we could. Since a river, it goes check, bet, fold. So the button ends up taking it down, and that brings us to the last hand of the session. Last hand, we have queen jack off in the cutoff. I make it $15 and get the button and big blind to call. Flop comes queen high. I see it for $25 and they both fold. So we take down the last pot of the session. Let's rack up, cash out, and see how we did.
All right, great way to finish the month. We booked a very nice win. We were in for 1,000, out for 23.90. So a profit of $1,390. Biggest win of the month. I'll take it. So happy I did that. Actually, this week was pretty good because I hadn't booked one win over 1,000 in the whole month. And on Monday, 2 days ago, I booked a little over 1,000. And now today with this one, yes, I lost a little bit, but yeah, the last 3 days were amazing. Definitely helped out for how badly the month was going. I'm gonna take it. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. I always appreciate it. We're already at number 15. That's crazy. It feels like I just started making vlogs, and here we are, 15 vlogs in. So that means I'm definitely 5 months in. Sounds about right? Maybe not. No, less 4 months. May cut that out. Anyways, feels like I just started, and here we are, already 15 vlogs in. I want to say appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I see how it's starting to pick up, getting more views. It just feels really good when you put in the work and the results start happening. It feels pretty amazing. Thank you guys for watching. If you leave a comment like always, and like and subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you guys next week.